There was no artist that sounded like me, that looked like me. And the mainstream actually liked that. But I will say, like, Islam saved me. Like, if I didn't have Islam, I would have gone to those parties. I would have done that. And then people say, oh, but you might have been really famous as well. And I'm just like, yeah, but I might have tried to kill myself as well.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to another episode of the Muslimi Experience. I'm your host, Brother Boonaa Mohammed, and this is one of those podcasts that you do not want to miss. We have really great, engaging conversations with people from all walks of life. Imams, du'at, entrepreneurs, artists, and today, alhamdulillah, will not disappoint. We have one of the biggest artists, mashallah, from the UK, the vocals only scene. He's taken it by storm and he's with us right now in studio. Let's welcome Saif Adam. Assalamu alaikum, Saif.
Alaikum assalam.
Mashallah, how are you?
I'm good, man. Alhamdulillah. Cold, but...
Yeah, I was going to say, getting to meet some new Canadian snow.
Yeah,
alhamdulillah. You know, obviously, being from the UK, we share a lot of the same culture.
True.
I would say, you know, Canadians and Brits, we have a lot in common. Actually, a lot of, I think, our arts and our artists, because many of us coming from immigrant backgrounds, you know, we can share a lot of the kind of cultural diversity. I want to talk to you a lot about a few things. One is about your immersion into the arts. Because, you know, I grew up as an artist. Obviously, you're an artist. It's not the norm a lot of times for people from our communities, our families. Sometimes they have other agendas. They'd like us to become. I mean, what did your family want for you? Was there another profession they had in mind?
Absolutely. I mean, being an artist is like at the bottom of the bottom.
Yeah.
In Arab culture, being a creative is like being a clown.
Pretty much, like a court jester. Yeah.
And I think there was an Arabic word. Don't quote me on this, but there's an Arabic word of when someone is a singer. It's like an Arabic word of a jester. And so that's I'm Iraqi, so that's kind of embedded within our people. So they're not respected. Like creatives and artists are not respected. So it was very difficult to overcome that. I'm from a family of teachers, both parents have PhD, and so they just education.
So they look at you like, oh, come on, Habibi. You a world famous artist?
I'm the black sheep of the family. I'm wearing all black, and it's just like, but. There was like a balance. I'll tell you where it was. It was more so I understood that what they wanted, because ultimately I always had respect for my parents all the time, and it was inbuilt within us. There was an element of continue with your studies. You can't just drop everything and become like an artist, or if you're a comedian, you can just be a comedian, or if you're a painter, you just want to... There's a balance, and those like formative years when you're going for the education system, it's important to learn those skills, like the science and maths and English, and also being surrounded by similar people of your age. There's a lot of people that kind of stepped out of the educational route, and then they're surrounded by people that probably not the best influence for them. And when you're young and you still got a young mind, you're still developing. So alhamdulillah, I think their advice is good. Like, you have to stay and try and push as far as you can go, all the way from secondary school. If you're dropping out of primary school, I don't know.
Not many options left after that.
But like secondary school, and then secondary school to college is when people start thinking, is education for me, and stuff like that. And I have to say, it's not about education. It's about the circle of people that you'll be around. You know, for example, it's a lot easier to transition from college to university. When you start learning your degree and you meet like-minded people. But also it's not actually about the degree. It's also about the people and how again, like the formative years where you start learning new skills and how you develop friendships and stuff. And also you navigating through your deen as well. Like, you know, like what you said, we're very similar, man. Like in the West, people are struggling with their deen.
They are.
You know, like there are places where you can't even pray. I'm with my brothers, even to this day, we're praying on the side of the street. We can't even pray in shops and stuff like, you can't do that here. You can't. We're on the motorway, head on the tarmac, like just praying outside a petrol station. So it is mad. It's a mad world that we live in. But alhamdulillah, I feel that we are going to be rewarded for that, inshallah, if we overcome all of these challenges.
That's a very beautiful point also, because, you know, I think for us, the West is such a fertile soil for da'wah, especially for what we're doing, right? Whereas being in Iraq, like, I mean, you can give da'wah, but it's not in the same way, you know? Like, they don't really need your da'wah. Like, they don't really need our help in the same way. Whereas I think there are so many young people now that have grown up as Saif Adams fans, singing your songs, learning the adhkar, learning these different du'a. Was there a moment when your parents were kind of like, oh, I think he's got it figured out. Like, I think, maybe it's not what we anticipated, but like, wow, okay, there's some, change or something positive being done.
Yeah, I think when they noticed a change in my friends, and I was showing them more. So I'm older now, I can talk about it. In my early years of doing interviews and stuff, I would never speak about it, but I think it's informative for people to see. You'd always there's an element of what you want to put out there, and you kind of cover that, and you just want to put out what you want the audience to know about yourself and stuff like that. So in the mainstream, I started out in the mainstream. I wasn't actually in the Islamic space.
Right.
So it was a very private journey. So I'd do my studio sessions. I'd even do events and shows along with like Ed Sheeran and all these other artists. And I wouldn't talk about it when I'm at home. So they know it's a different thing. I'd never be at home. I'd always be out. I'd find an excuse. I'd stay out. My manager at the time, he was like a producer as well. I'd stay in their house. So I'd barely be home. When I transitioned into doing faith music on nasheeds, they saw me more. They saw me at home. They saw me because, as Muslims, we're not always out. Yeah, we'll stay out as lads. We'll stay out and like chill, play computer and stuff like that. Right. And then they just go home. Right. But in the mainstream is you could be in the studio. The studio is like a place where people just pass through, leave, chill, they drink, they smoke, they do everything. You're just there. You could be there for weeks in the studio. That's why when people create projects in the mainstream, there's a house.
Go on a retreat.
It's a retreat, yeah, but not a retreat that you think.
No, not that way.
So, like, it's a mad one, to be honest, and in the respect that you're just constantly trying to navigate through what the audience want to hear and what is authentic to yourself. So when the two started marrying, that's when my parents become a bit more happier, and they started thinking, oh, he's all right. And it come from like, people just saying, oh, is your son Saif Adam? My mum's a teacher as well, and my dad's a teacher. So when they're telling, oh, I know your son, I saw your son, that's when it become, oh, okay. And then nice people that were saying it. So like the world that we worked in, and it could be in any sector, like it doesn't have to just be in the arts. It can be in any sector. Like, the second that you feel that, your parents are more happier, there's a bit more barakah in that. Because, we name drop things like Ed Sheeran and being in the mainstream. I was signed to Sony, all of this stuff. But I didn't feel blessed at the time. Like, I don't think it was my best years. It was really strange. But only when you move away from that, you realise, like, you learn about contentment, and you learn about when you're pleasing Allah, there's more barakah. There's more barakah in like a quarter of a chicken than a whole chicken.
Allah
it wasn't getting paid the same. In the mainstream, you get paid very well. Money isn't the issue. It's constant, like, it's just constant money. Everything's free as well. But then when you move into the faith space, there's different challenges.
Start paying you with dates.
If you're lucky. Only in Ramadan.
Yeah. Ramadan, you get your dates and water sorted out. Yeah. But I think this is really important, though. And maybe some people, because mashallah, you have this new fan base of, young children and adults and people that have grown up listening to you in the faith space, in the faith-driven space. But maybe people aren't even aware of your time in the mainstream. Can you talk a little bit about, like, what was that experience? How did you even get introduced to somebody? You mentioned Ed Sheeran. Like, how did that mainstream door open for you?
So when I was younger, I used to love listening to people like Sami Yusuf and Mahir Zain. And I actually reached out to a lot of these labels. And there's another guy called, brother called Khalil Mohammed. Who was doing the nasheeds in the early days.
Yeah.
So, and there was a YouTube video of saying, so you want to be a nasheed artist? So I'd deep dive into YouTube. And I emailed him. I spoke to him about this before. And I emailed him and I said, look, I want advice on how I can do nasheeds. I love singing, but I don't know where to start. I don't know how, what to do. I need to be like, do I need to study? Some people think to start nasheeds, you have to be like a sheikh or study.
I thought you would study music.
No, they're like,
really?
Study the deen and all of this stuff. I mean, I didn't think that, but at the time where it's like, can you just become a nasheed artist?
Right.
Like, do you have to study? Do you have to learn more?
It's a valid question. Yeah,
Which
sure.
is true.
Yeah,
no one really deeps it that much.
Yeah.
And basically, I sent some emails out at the time. I was going to say messages. There was no WhatsApp back then. And no one responded, man. Like, no one responded. There wasn't a response at all from any of the bigger labels or anything. And I was like, okay, cool. Maybe okay, fine. I then started recording my own demos. Back then, I used to love listening to people like, obviously, Michael Jackson, John Legend. He was like an artist that I used to love listening to. And I started recording some demos, and I just sent it out to all of the record labels. Just Googled record labels, got their emails, sent it all out. Lo and behold, they all about 6 responses come back. Hey, really nice video, lovely voice. Would like to invite you in.
Wow.
One of them was a company called, I don't want to say the record label because then you can backtrack and see everything. But not that there's anything online now, alhamdulillah. But I don't want to drive Muslims into this label.
Sure. There was a label.
There was a label.
Sure.
And they said, come down. Let's discuss how we can develop and work with you. Lo and behold, I signed. And then I then signed a publishing deal with Bucks Music Group, which is affiliated to Ed Sheeran and all these guys. At that time, there was all unknown. Everyone was unknown, was all signed. And I grew from there, to be honest, and we started doing shows. So we did the whole Camden circuit, Shoreditch. There's another artist called Plan B. These are all like British artists that were smashing it in the UK. You got like Dappy, Getz, who's like a rapper at the moment.
Okay.
Back then, he used to do like a live showcase with bands and stuff like that. So I did the whole like network. You know, Amy Winehouse, she did the whole Camden. That I was doing all of those shows.
Wow.
Alhamdulillah, I built a bit of a following.
Nice.
Because my USP is like singing live, you know.
And you are a dope live performer. Anyone who hasn't seen you perform live, mashallah, they should know that, mashallah.
There was a lot of skills learned in that industry, in that space. I'll tell you why. It's like busy bars, everyone's talking, there's no focus on the stage, so everyone's just talking. But you had to have a voice that would just silence the room. And you'd have to tell a story that was so enticing that it would make people stop their conversations and just listen. And I learned a lot how to do that. And both myself and Ed Sheeran, we used to tour, and we were the only ones that were able to kind of silence a room and just listen in to our tracks. And it was nice. It was like hard hitting. It was like soulful stuff. I'm a big fan of Ray Charles. Like I said, John Legend. So I was hitting hard tracks. Wasn't always the one that followed the trend, because at the time, like grime music was in, like garage and grime was in, like singing sort of like love songs or singing songs about, you know, just being and feelings, and that wasn't really cool.
Soul,
it wasn't really cool at the time, you know. So alhamdulillah, there's something that I learned in that is just like, you know, just be yourself. Like I wouldn't follow what's literally current right now, because the industry is always moving. Like even in the nasheed industry, if you see an artist, don't try and replicate what's out there now, or a track that's like 3 years old. The reason why it's on 1 million views because it was released 3 years ago, not now. It's not popular now. You don't need to reference that. And I think that the struggle with a lot of new artists is that they lack reference points, and they look at someone like, and this is the mistake I made. You look at someone like Sami Yusuf, you look at someone like Mahir Zain, and you create another like Al-Mu'allim, or you create another Insha'Allah. It doesn't hit. Like it doesn't hit at all. It's a complete different time, you know. So I think it's about finding yourself and where you sit comfortably with, you know.
So in that time of touring and being in that space, you mentioned some of the skill sets you picked up on. It's very interesting, subhanAllah, the parallels even in my own story, because I started off doing a lot of like high school events, and you know, like you go to a high school, it's a very hostile environment. It's not like you go to Islamic school, everyone's sitting there nicely. Like high school kids are looking for excuses to not be there. So I would have to like tame a high school crowd, and I got really comfortable on stage because of that. So hearing your story is like ironic. I actually heard the same thing of the Beatles, by the way. The Beatles back in the day used to tour like Liverpool and go to all these places where they were playing really tough rooms to the extent where they just got really good, you know? Talk to me more about that journey. Like, what were some of the things that you learned about yourself being in that space? Because for myself, I learned, like I said, some of the skill set. I also learned that maybe some of that environment didn't sit well with me. You know, being around alcohol, being around certain venues, some places where I felt like, and I, you know, my journey was like I was just learning about deen as well while I was trying to navigate, you know, music and faith. But for you, mashallah, you came from a solid background. At what point did you start feeling like, okay, you know, maybe I don't want to, maybe it's not about the music, maybe it's about the environment, maybe, you know, when did those conversations start happening?
Yeah, it's important even when you said it's not about the music, because I never used to do haram music.
Right,
say. My songwriting was always wholesome, it was always authentic. The long and short of it, to be honest, is you reach a certain point of success, right? And like a lot of people kind of gauge success in different ways. Yeah, at that time was network, and so say you sign a record deal, that's success. How I signed my record deal was they have a bottle of champagne and they pop it. I'm like, oh no, I don't drink. Immediately, you're not following the same rhetoric as what's the norm over there. And then you have to be mature enough to be able to talk to them about, I'm not disrespecting you,
Right.
but in their eyes, this is this is showing respect to you. We've opened up like a £300 bottle of champagne because we've just signed you. It's like us, when we offer someone dates or food, and if you say no, it's like, no, like, no, just have a date, brother. You're in my house.
Yeah.
No, I'm okay there. Imagine that. So I didn't really have the maturity to be able to really. I was just like, sorry, I don't drink, and I would get flustered in those scenarios, and you could tell that I was uneasy. So all those like points of success, I really didn't enjoy in any way. And the main sort of venues that which were kind of milestones in people's career, there were bars, and they're like the clubs and bars, and there's a lot of drinking. So I used to do there's the Vibe Bar, which is only big artists end up doing and stuff like that. I headlined it, and even then it's just you had that horrible sense of feeling. And what you kind of learn is try to pretend that that's not really there, and you're trying to it's about the music, but all of your people that are listening, they're holding a beer and all of that stuff, and then it gets to a point where you just can't pretend that this is okay, and your sensor just keeps going. You feel that huge sense of unhappiness and uneasiness. You know that feeling when you lose your phone and your heart just keeps going like that. That's the feeling that you can't ignore. It gets to a point where you're just like, I can't do this anymore. And there was a turning point when, and this is what's funny, because this is actually what made Ed Sheeran blow into to what he is now. We were all signed to the same team. We're all writers at the time. He's not released anything now. We're doing the live circuit together and stuff like that. And Jamie Foxx invited our label to go to his house and said, look, we're having a house party. This is what happened all the time. Lady Gaga would have house parties. P. Diddy used to do house parties. And I never went to any of them. But imagine I did. And I would have seen all of that stuff, but because the labels are very connected to each other.
It was a part of the industry.
You just got to come. You just come. And again, back then there were no phones, so I used to do things with One Direction and all these guys. There's no pictures.
Wow.
Even with Ed, I'm literally in the studio. He's there. There's no pictures of me and Ed Sheeran. There's nothing.
You wouldn't think to take them.
And there was no phones back then. It was literally, there's nothing there.
Right.
So it's really strange. And I kind of stopped talking about my career back then because with my new audience, because that's why I don't really lead with I used to write songs for mainstream artists, or I was in the mainstream, because it doesn't really connect, and it's really difficult for them to understand. The proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
For people to believe that I worked in that space is that you need a picture of me and Pharrell, picture of me, and I have them, but it's just they're old and pixelated. They're from back in the day, so it's not that interesting. But yeah, so when we all got invited to go, Ed Sheeran flew out. He then was sleeping on his couch, and everybody was there, and literally all of the artists were there. Then everyone just does a live show. He's got his guitar, so we all start singing. I then get a call from my manager at the time, the head of the department, says, "Come, Safe, just come over, just fly over. You can stay at his house, just come." And I was like, and he said, "It's really everybody's there, And I was like, and I was thinking, how do I tell my mum and dad that I want to go to LA to a house party? It's just about when I used to leave the house, where you going, what time you're coming back, let alone I'm going to pack a suitcase. Bye, I'm going like that. And they knew I wasn't around Muslim people. I never grew up around Muslim guys or anything like that. Right. So it was there was no way. And I was thinking, as people will understand, there's people from our background that have a mishmash of history. You have really creative ways of saying I need to go somewhere without telling the truth and all of that. You learn this horrible skill. Yeah. And I've got this one thing, it does it strict parents raise good liars. Okay. And that's one thing that I'm a father now, and I never want my daughters to lie to me. I just want to hit it head on, have the issue there, and then I don't ever want her to lie to me. And I know there's people listening to this podcast thinking, I've been super creative with my reasons why I go somewhere and stuff like that. So I was like, I can't, this life doesn't suit me. I can't. And this is a point where it's going to progress my career. Already I'm doing well, and it was moving super fast. And then on the back of that, Ed Sheeran ended up going on, it's called The Foxhole with Jamie Foxx. He went on the podcast. He then performed live in one of these iconic live showcases over there. And he then had a bidding war for people to sign him, because at that time we were primed. We'd done all of those shows, and we were just ready for the stage. So when someone says perform your songs and you've got 3 minutes, I know to sing a banging song for you guys to sing with me. I know a song for that one, a cover. So I used to cover I Want to Be a Billionaire. So, that one. And then I'll do my own songs as well. 3 songs that showcase different things of me, where people would immediately be like, wow, this guy's got talent. He's got talent. And you learn very quickly how to kind of develop those quick kind of responses from the audiences and stuff like that, because you didn't have 40 minutes on the stage when you're up and coming. You had like 3 songs, and those 3 songs have to have a little bit of everything, otherwise you just get forgotten about. So it was at that point, my bro, that I just thought, I can't do it. And then I stepped back and I cut soul searching. And then my dad was taking a group of, with his school, kids to go Umrah. And then he said, just come, I need people to look after the year 6s. So you don't need, it's not a big responsibility, but I just need someone, with them. And I just turned to Allah. I was facing the Kaaba. My dad said, sit and just look at the Kaaba and ask whatever you want. And I was like, okay, cool. All right then. And I sat there. I didn't even stay in my hotel. I had a hotel booked, but I was just there from like all the way from evening all the way to Fajr, just staring at it. And I was just asking, like, what's the plan? Like, because I had all of that success, but I kept it all to myself. I wasn't allowed to share those things. And things like, oh, I'm doing a song for Lady Tiesto, I'm doing a song. People don't care about that back then. They didn't care. And also there was that journey, like what I said, something that's popular now doesn't mean that you don't need to reference that. We were like the next people to blow. You couldn't even reference us, what we was doing. Like we was songwriting, making it cool, hard hitting. And it was just a really interesting time to be part of that conglomerate of artists that just come through. So we was just doing whatever we felt that we wanted to do. So I was like free flowing. Like there was no reference, there was no artist that sounded like me, that looked like me. And the mainstream actually liked that. They like that no one looks like you and no one speaks like you and no one has an Iraqi background. They didn't care back then. There was no conflict with 9/11 or anything like that. So everybody.
That was probably around the Iraq invasion time too, right?
It was, yeah.
Wow,
after that.
Right.
No, actually, no, yeah. Exactly.
Well, Iraq was probably still relevant at that time.
Yeah, it really was, yeah.
Wow.
But back then, I don't know if you noticed, like, no one really cared what religion you was. When I was at school, no one ever said what religion are you, or like now it's like, are you a Muslim? Are you this? Are you that? Like, what kind of Muslim? And all of this. And so that was never part of the conversation. It was always just like, oh yeah, like if you say you don't drink, they don't connect it to alcohol.
Faith,
they just think like,
you don't drink.
Oh, cool, you don't drink, like and that was mad to them, because everyone in that industry, everyone drinks. And I've spoken to shayukh in the past, and it's like, why didn't you could do so much dawah in that space? And I was just like, these people are dead inside. They are dead. That's why half of them commit suicide. Like literally all. And the people who have been on the same circuit that I am are unhappy. I watched the Ed Sheeran documentary. He is not the same person that I used to roll with. Like he's. I don't want to say anything like that. That would be bad. But I just that mainstream industry kills you. Like literally, that your heart is just literally gone. And it's sad, So it's like a career path that is kind of, you're destined to fail. The more success you have, the more internal failures.
It's hard to even explain that to a lot of young brothers and sisters who actually, that's all they want.
I know, it's mad, isn't it? I know.
It's so weird, because it's like, you see the fire and the flies are drawn towards it, and you're telling them, this fire is going to kill you, it's going to burn you. But it's so bright. They want to get closer to it. So I can imagine how difficult it was for yourself. And, I think for a lot of people, the idea of, like, we are also part of this movement now that has been crafting this Western Muslim identity, this Western Muslim culture. But for a lot of people, our audience, or this audience that we're preaching to, is like kind of irrelevant. And also because they're not the Muslim crowd, maybe not mainstream. People don't feel as much satisfactory in terms of their efforts. Do you ever find that there's still, I'm not saying you have this, but like there's still a need for artists or nasheed artists to bridge that gap? Do you think that there is a world in which a person can be of faith, can sing and have songs that Muslims can relate with, and also, have that mainstream appeal? Like, is that even possible?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, my experience is it's going to fail. Like, you're going to fail. And let's take religion out of it. Like, it's the mental health, like, is just, it will do so much to you. Like, and what happens is that you're not driven by money in that world. So you'll never see these mainstream artists bothered about money. You'll never see them when, oh, I've got a Ferrari, they don't, it's because they're so busy. Like that success, you're just constantly onto the next track, you're just so involved in your own, you're just channel of just creative arts, music, create the next music, do this, collaborate with this person, build, keep it. That's how you're wired. It's not about the music. And I think that the Islamic space is a safe space. I think that if you have a career that you can partner like your faith and your belief in Allah, that He is the one and He's the planner of all planners, then you're going to have a lot more peaceful journey. Like, what's the point in trying to get to a point like from A to B, and this route was just so tragic, and you're conflicting with your feelings, you upset your mum and dad, and but then you've got like a £5 million house at the end of it. Yeah. Like, what was the point with nobody in? And then you got this route where you build good connections, brotherhood, your mum and dad are happy with you, they're proud of you, you're happy. When you look back, if your whole life was documented, you'll be like, oh, that was a lovely time. You know, when we look back at pictures and we're like, oh, mashallah, like my trips with my brothers are in Umrah, and we're like, oh, wow, I was just talking to my brother, Stereo Child, and it was talking about that picture of me and him in front of the Kaaba. You know, in the mainstream, you can't do that. Like, you're going to some place in wherever. I don't even know where the place is. I'm so far away from it. Yeah. I don't even know where people go now in those spaces, to have fun and stuff like that. And I just think that, you have to think about your journey. Okay, the akhirah, sometimes telling youth, like, to invest in the akhirah is too heavy for them. But at least, like, the next 10 years, what's the plan? What do you want to do? Like, And it's really difficult. Like, you can never tell. We're all so unique. Like, everyone's so individual and unique. You look at Yusuf Islam. I don't know, like, you look at people's career and you try and study it. And to be honest, they're just doing what they're feeling, whoever's around them. Like, we don't really connect with them. Like, in the end, we only see what they're putting out, I don't know them. I know them personally, but I don't know them. I don't know what their moves are, what their next intentions are. Right. And we always remind ourselves, like, as creatives, like, renew, and people just overlook it. Renew your intentions, renew your intentions, renew the intentions. And I always feel like an old man saying it. And like what you said, like, the kids just don't get it. They will never listen. Comedy, we're seeing a lot of people in the comedy circuit building. And again, I don't know what the comedy circuit is, but if it's anything like the mainstream music, is that you're going to have to go through a whole load of tests.
So I have a few brothers that I know that are, flirting with the mainstream. They want to become more notoriety in that space. Yeah. And I have a lot of fear for them. Yeah. Sometimes they don't have the fear, and I'm like, dog, you should be worried. Yeah. And I have one young brother actually that I work with that is, he's traveling with some artists right now, and he's kind of helping him on the production side. And, I tell him, I'm like, there's going to come a point where you're going to have to choose to a certain extent, right? Yeah. And the choices sometimes are very subtle, but it's like, oh, okay, Salah is leaving right now and the bus is going. Are you going to pray or are you going to miss your Salah and go with these guys? Yeah. And it's like Allah's putting you in the situation, And
the two don't go hand in hand.
They don't.
The mainstream is not going to say, okay, pray your Salah. Sometimes what people do is they create like a barrier, so your manager will deal with those issues. But when you're young and you're talented, like, I don't know, there's something exciting about, we don't know what's going to happen, and even the person who's in these new spaces, he hasn't seen it. But the thing is, we've seen it. We've seen that problem, that challenge that people face. So they just got to live it. But I will say, like, Islam saved me. Like, if I didn't have Islam, I would have gone to those parties. I would have done that. And then people say, oh, but you might have been really famous as well. And I'm just like, yeah, but I might have tried to kill myself as well. Because when you just look at what's in front of you, Amy Winehouse, who else is there's loads more.
A lot.
Who else is there? My mind's gone blank. There's loads of artists.
Well, I'm thinking Whitney Houston. I'm even thinking like comedians and stuff like that. Like Robin Williams is one of my favorite comedians, and you would have thought this person was full of happiness and joy. And inside he was miserable. SubhanAllah, nobody even knew. Yeah. I think for a lot of people, chasing that fame is its own high, becoming successful and famous. But really, like, how do we quantify success? I think this is a question I post to a lot of people, like, what does success even mean? Is it monetary? Yeah. Is it, because for me, it's like, you can make money in so many different ways, right? And you could be famous for so many things that are not worth being famous for. I'm happy in the sense that, like, mashallah, someone like you stepped away from that path, and you also built and helped carve out a niche that not just you're benefiting from, but the future Muslim artists, the people that, you know, will come after us, right? There's a pathway that you've created. That to me, I feel is so much more rewardable. I don't know. I mean, I'm biased, right? But it's almost like I would rather be a part of building something sustainable and having that I can look back and be happy. My parents are happy. My kids are proud of me. Like everybody is kind of in agreement with what we're doing, as opposed to, like you're mentioning, you know, some people that will have to look back at one point and really second guess and be like, you know, should I have done that? And there's some people that I also feel like maybe they don't get the same flowers. Maybe they don't get the accreditation. Maybe they don't get the views, right? But if one person watches their video or listens to their song and changes their life, somebody starts to pray because they heard this song. Somebody starts sending salawat upon the Prophet ﷺ, or they go out and learn. Wallahi, how can we quantify this? Is there even something better than this? You know? So I think as much as we're talking about also renewing our intention, we also have to, you know, maybe spell out for the people, like, what does success even look like? You know what I mean?
It's people's relationship with success. So, for example, people's relationship with money. There's some people that have been blessed with money and money's never been a thing. And there could be people, their relationship with the arts and being like seen as talented. Oh, they've never been told they've been talented. They've always been like outshone by people that they've grown with. It's difficult. Like you can't answer that. I'll tell you why. You have, like, for example, we're trying to give a blanket approach to people that are ill, that like someone's got a cold or someone's got this. There's no one or flu, and there's no one way that people respond better with, I'm not a doctor, but capsules rather than the liquid stuff, the liquid shot. Some people respond with just sleep, you'll get better. There's no answer. Like I would just say, I'm a free flower, in a sense that I've removed the expectation of views. I've removed the expectation of money. I'm in the moment, and my objectives can change overnight. 1 minute I want to write the best album, and it's gonna and then after that I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna do my best and see what happens. And then sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm gonna raise this much income. I'm gonna do this, or I'm gonna start this new business, or I'm heavily into fashion, and I'm like, I'm gonna do my own fashion brand. It's just too overwhelming. Like you're just like, you have to just take one step at a time and just follow your heart. And again, if you can just please Allah. And I know this is. It's a horrible answer to your question, because it doesn't really solve anything. It doesn't really help anyone. But I really want listeners to kind of just think, let me like soul search, let me deep dive, let me understand, where do I want to be in 5 years? Where do I want to be in year 10? Where do I want to be in year 20? And sometimes it's really hard for young people to fathom. And I'll be honest with you, like you could actually have a career. We keep talking about young people, but there's people who are 30s in their 40s that are massively struggling, like, you know. And for art, it's never too late. There are people that have become like, they've shot into stardom when they were like 45 and 40 and 35, and all of those experiences in the past have added to that. There's different scenarios where you learn different skill sets. So, for example, me being on the live stage, I learnt that when I was in my 18 to 25, I learned all of that. So it's just putting yourself through intense schedules. One could be, I'm going to write as many songs as possible. I'll tell you, Ed Sheeran's way was, he used to write terrible songs, but when you write 100 songs, you know, every month, it's only going to get better and better and better. The same thing with David Beckham, when he learned about how to take his free kicks. He's taken like every training session, he'd be taking that free kick on the corner of the pitch and on the corner of the 18-yard line, and he's constantly curling it in. Practice. And people say, how do you do those corner kicks? Well, I've taken 5,000 more kicks than you, so of course I'm going to be better. So it's just refining your art and just understanding, where do you sit in the industry, and do not reference what's out there already. There's only one Michael Jackson, there's only one Bruno Mars, there's only one Sammy Yusuf, there's only one Mahir Zain. We've seen that. There isn't someone that looks like Sammy or sounds like Sammy. There isn't someone that looks like Ed and sounds like Ed. There isn't, you know. So I just think that you have to kind of dig deep, and there's a community out there that want authenticity. They want real talent to come out, and we will be behind it. You know, I'm just like yourself. I always want to support the next big thing and the next and even then, even calling it the next big thing is very dangerous for artists, because then the story changes. There's a different chapter in it. Oh, so I'm the next big thing. And then they've lost all of that thing of growth and understanding, and let them realize how big they are through their thing. And like what you said, the next big thing could be turning someone to Allah, and it could be that one person. So it's all relative to that person. Like, people come from the street. There's different people that come to Islam as well. People who live a street life, and there's people who grew up in strict families. There's people who just naturally are so comfortable with their religion that they've never really had that struggle between, the West and all of this and trying to. So we're just like a huge mixing pot of different kinds of people, and the art is beautiful. Like, I listen to Ilyas Mao, I listen to Saeed. I've got a new brother, Amin Davis, has come into the industry. I love his contribution to the industry, and I think it's about uplifting these people. So what can the artists do, and what can the community do? The artists build on their craft, constantly just work. Don't look what anyone else is doing. If I've got a track that's banging, you don't need to do a track like that. I didn't know that Allahumma was going to be like that, or Holy. I didn't even know that was my worst track.
What?
I didn't even know that Holy was going to bang.
Oh man, it'd be like that sometimes though. You put stuff out and you're like, oh, this one's gonna do great and this one's gonna do horrible, and then it ends up just being the reverse.
The video's the worst video. It's just like a video of me going into a shop. It's like a last choice video. It's raining that day, so we said, okay, let's just shoot this song. And then we'll just do it in the shop. It's my friend's shop called The Cave, and I used to love he's got these Muslim hats and all. It's lovely. Yeah,
it looked very nice.
It looked cool. Yeah. Over 1 million views. It keeps going. Keeps going. It's like every day there's like another 20,000 views. And like, what's going on? But people seem to be connecting. So we have the community that are behind the art, and then you've got the artists. And I think that when the two go hand in hand, then it will work. But I also think as artists, we don't do the best job.
But I like that point you mentioned. Sometimes there's barakah in things that we didn't expect.
Yeah.
But I want to just pull back a little bit. You said something interesting. When you were just coming up and you were messaging all these different nasheed artists and labels, I was thinking to myself, because I sometimes get those messages. Yeah. Okay, I'm sure you do as well.
Yeah.
Younger artists, hey, I'm such and such. I'm from here. I'm a new artist. Yeah. And I kind of like, I don't know if I would be different than maybe the experiences that you've had, where like that sucks that people close the door on you. But then it's like, I feel like sometimes I do that myself as well, only because I'm a little bit stuck. Well, like, how do I help you? It's such a long-winded conversation, and with Amin a little bit different. Amin, I've had time to work with him, and I got to know him a lot even before we decided to work together. Yeah. But if somebody just shoots Saif a message, a DM, say, hey Saif, I'm this next artist, what would you even say? What is your advice to them? How do you even guide somebody along this type of journey?
So for me, it's very organic. It's their approach. So if they're like, their intro is just nice and soft, then I'm okay with that. Like if they're saying, how are you? And all of that, then I'm down. I'll help. I'll read the message. If you say, this is my next track, or I've written a song, you should sing it. And this is what I get.
Cold. Like that too?
Yeah, really cold.
So they want you to sing their song?
Yeah. How much will it be for you to perform for?
Wow.
Right. So for me, it's the approach. It's the approach. And it does work. The Gary V kind of new age thing is like, message everyone, because everybody's contactable. Everyone's reading their messages. Justin Bieber is reading their messages. Everyone's reading it. Right. It's just your approach. And sometimes you see some and sometimes you don't see others. But also, like, there's an added thing to this, is that there's nothing I can do to help an artist. Like, for me, I deep dive into watching a few documentaries about artists and their growth and their life and all of that. And I actually realised that it wasn't the artists that actually made themselves successful, it was their managers. There should be documentaries on the managers. It's the managers that make the artist famous. It's actually not the artist. The manager knows how to cultivate what's right, and he does the thinking for you. He introduces you to the right people, puts you on the right shows, get you signed to the biggest record deal that they can find for you. The artist can't go in there and try and negotiate deals and that. So I always found that the people that should, when you look at, if you want to contact me, don't contact me. Try and see who my manager is. Contact my manager, and then they will create opportunities for you. Because I can't create opportunities for you. You can't just jump on a track and just sing. I don't even have that in my head it just wouldn't work like that. But my manager would say, I've looked at this artist. I've seen what they can do. I think you should collaborate. Or I'm going to give him an opening slot on you. So you need to focus on channel that energy into the managers and those people, because the artists can't help you. The artists are still finding it themselves. And then when you become too big, there are some times where I look at my DMs and I'm not even seeing everything, you know, and even if you know Instagram, it's weird. There's like 2 inboxes.
Yeah, there is. And like people don't know this, but stuff goes to your junk.
Yeah,
it goes to like, there's a hidden folder. Where I know, dude, I'll get stuff and like people be like, oh, you didn't check my message. I'm like, what message? I go back. Oh, you messaged me 4 years ago. And it just went to this random folder that I didn't even know I had access to. So yeah, sometimes it does get lost.
But for new artists, if you are listening, you just have to understand that there's different channels and different ways for people to find your art. Unfortunately, the way it is, when you become popular, everybody's just going to listen. Like that message will hold a lot more weight. And even mainstream record labels, they're looking at ready-made artists. So there's a lot of things that without that manager, there's a lot of things you can do yourself. And I think we was having a discussion offline, or we may have said it in this podcast, was about when, you know, how to become a nasheed artist. And, you know, there's some people that actually think that you need to study.
Yeah, you mentioned, you need to study deen for that. Yeah.
And it's interesting. I can see why. Like, I can see why they would think that.
In retrospect. But my thing is ironic, because if you knew nasheed artists, a lot of them, I mean, mashallah, a lot of them have, you know, great deen, great akhlaq, but like having a nice voice is not the same as having ilm. You know, like if you can just sing something, it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, you are the best example for mankind, right? It's a completely separate thing.
Us artists are just people that like to channel our faith into that creative art. If I was a painter, if I was into fashion, I'd find a way to join it together. And I think that's why people use nasheed artists as channels to kind of, you know, put out messages and reach communities, because we tap into a different space where the shayukh can't get into, you know.
I mean, if you ask me also, I do think that what we do is an extension of the storytelling and the culture of, you know, arts that Islam has always had, right? You look at someone like Hassan ibn Thabit radiallahu anhu, who was the poet of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. His art form played a very pivotal role in shaping the discourse around Islam at that time, right? So I would even argue that what you're doing, what, you know, a lot of artists are doing now, of presenting Islam in a beautiful way, in a artful way, is actually meant to combat what the negative, you know, what the other side is saying about us, and what the other side is portraying about life. It's right. True. So I see it in both ways. I see the cultural aspect of it. I also wonder, like, for the new artists, right? The person who's watching you now, you mentioned about the managers. Do we have enough managers? And what actually is a manager? Maybe you can fill, because I'll let people know now, like, I have recently taken on this role of managing. I'm helping to manage Amin Davis and Ilyas. Very different role, not anything I'm used to. My experience mainly comes from just being an artist and knowing what I would have wanted, right? But can you also talk about, first of all, what is the scene like of managers, right? Like, you have a manager, he's dope, mashallah. But I don't even know many other artists that have managers or have people representing them.
I think it's the same with art. Like, I didn't know that I was a singer-songwriter or I was a nasheed artist until I just delved into it. And then there's a label, nasheed artist. Okay, if I write songs about it, I'm a nasheed artist. And I think managers, a lot of managers that, even with Ed's manager, he wasn't Ed Sheeran's manager, he wasn't actually a manager back then. He just he was with him on the journey and was close to him. So, okay, you need help in this space. I think I can help you in this area, because they're so busy focused on the art. Right. You need someone to focus on the growth and progression,
the business,
the business element of it. Because when I was growing, I didn't even think I'll do everything for free. I'll do whatever you want. I'll travel. I'll do this. I'll pay for flights. So that's how we are. What you said about the akhlaq and all that. You know, all the artists are like that.
Yeah, they just want to be out there.
They just want to be out there. They enjoy the art so much that there's stages. Now, but then it is a professional industry at the same time. So it needs, like, people in there to protect your best interests, to maintain, like, what you're doing, and to sustain it and to grow. So there's no real official kind of manager role. It's just someone who, and if you are struggling, look around you. There's some people who are really good at business. Their natural thing is, you know, I always said this about footballers. There's people who are just natural goalkeepers, and there's people who are natural strikers. You never find someone who's an amazing striker who's an amazing in goal. There's usually one or the other. Right. And I think that when you look around your circle and your friends, look who's sharp in business, and give them that responsibility. Look, this is what I want to do. I'd like to grow. There's some artists that don't even know where they want to be. They just want to focus on the art, and that's it. So you need that manager to be like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to get it. But you also have to incentivize that manager, because that manager can't work. He can't work for free, and invest his time. You're just going to get a manager that doesn't want to put time in, or even time to think and organize meets and schedule meets and for growth and stuff. So, yeah, it's this podcast is mad because there is no infrastructure in this Islamic space. So we're constantly going to be surprised why this person blows and this does well and all of that. We get artists that are blowing, but they don't know how to maintain it and sustain it. I'll give an example. This is a bit controversial, but for example, my daughter, she's never heard of any Maher Zain songs. She's never heard of Sami Yusuf songs. Wow. But she's heard of Saeed. She's heard of Ilyas Mao. She was singing Amin Davis.
All right.
So it's a whole new space, and it's constantly changing.
It is.
And I think that's why we just got to enjoy it. And the managers, if they see something, or people that potentially could manage an artist, if you see something, if you've got a friend who's like an amazing qari or something like that, why not help him spread that message and put it out there? Because you're absolutely right, we're under attack right now. When I first came into the scene, there wasn't that, it was just art. But now there's another added responsibility, is representing Islam in the way that it should be, and we're having to combat the negative messages that we're getting for our own children, to make sure that they have a happy life here in the West and stuff. So things change so quick. And the other sad point is, this is even worse, talking about managers, there's certain managers that can only take you to a certain stage. When that network is done, the artist is like, he's there. What's he going to do?
It's a glass ceiling.
He has to go to that next manager who managed someone like a different management company who managed super artists or something like that in that space. And then that manager has to learn how to let go, but then he has to know that was all this a waste. Like how can he fathom letting go of his baby with someone that you worked with? So that manager has to grow. You have to find a new role for that manager, something that they still manage it and they're still part of the story. Because if you go into different teams, sometimes you lose that essence of what you have. And we've seen it in the grime industry, we've seen it in the UK industry. Someone is popping on the streets, he's really popular, he then signs a mainstream deal and no one cares about him. He lost that essence of what made him cool. So I think artists need to look at their circle. And when I got that sorted, I'll be honest, with my team, when I had that circle dusted, I'm not looking for anyone else, that's when actually I saw exponential growth. It just went just shut up, like the holy, all you ask of me, Allahumma, all of these tracks, everything just becomes successful in the back of that. Why? Because that team was just tight and we understood. The scary thing is now is that when we do grow, I have this honest discussion with my managers. There's a certain point where there's only so much he can do. I have a certain kind of manager that doesn't actively seek bookings or actively seek new business opportunities, but he's more focused on my well-being and my art and facilitating that the art is taking place and consistency. So I wanted that. That's what I wanted, And I think the artists need to find out what it is that they need, and managers need to understand that things change, but also if there's an open conversation, open discussion, because I've seen many times where there's artists that have been in management deals and lack of communication, someone else enters the circle and then it gets pulled out, and you know what gets affected? The art, the individual. Everyone else will just carry on with their lives and all of that. So it needs to be one team, and it has to be secure, and I think that alhamdulillah that there are some movers and shakers within the industry that you can work with and find that. And there's also space for this new guy to come in and start managing all the artists and say, look, I've managed to get you a record deal with this. The mainstream record labels still want us because of the numbers. I'm getting emails from Sony. I'm getting emails from major labels saying that we're seeing your numbers, we're seeing what you're doing. You have better interaction than we have with our mainstream labels, and we're paying for that. So we just have to kind of configure how those deals will take place, and then we can grow and reach out to as many people. But my expectation is not worldwide domination or anything like that. My expectation is just to be around good brothers, travel, have that contentment, have enough money in the bank to live a comfortable life, and that's it.
But is there a world where and what you're saying is not wrong. I mean, I think the problem, it's like the more you start practicing deen also, it's like the more you live a life where you don't need the extravagance as well. Like you shouldn't even want that type of stuff, right? So it's like, it's almost like the more we're spiritually inclined, the less we're expecting, you know, because it's like you really are just doing it for the art now, right? But then I think of someone like Mufti Mink, right? Who I know you did a collaboration with recently. You know, to me, he's mainstream. Like, yes, obviously he's from our community and he's an imam and, you know, but like, if you look at the numbers, if you look at interaction, if you look at whatever, I struggle to think, why wouldn't a mainstream brand want someone like him to push anything, right? Oh, we got this new soap, this new Mufti Mink, why not? Right? Is there a world where someone like Mufti, someone like yourself, myself, the Muslim artist, where, and again, this is hypothetical, but do you ever see a time when maybe we could crack that mainstream code in terms of just being okay with being ourselves in the public sphere?
Yeah, there has been like discussions of this in the past, and I've been involved in like closed discussions about, for example, a nasheed artist has been approached by Rolex and can you promote? And what they've done is they've managed to say, okay, I'll promote Rolex, but I'll do it in Indonesia, in Malaysia, because the rhetoric, we can control it a bit better rather than that. So there are those discussions happening, but it's just about what fits. And you know that there's that mainstream agenda. So finding companies that align with your ethics and morals is growing to be even more difficult now. And then you don't know what they're very clever. Like they'll plant a seed now and then going forward something else will happen. But there's huge commercial appeal in what we're doing. Like it's just, we just need to build that farm. Like what I said, like Mustafa the poet is a good example of that. Like, you know, he's ready for a brand to come on board and, you know, and push and stuff like that. But to be honest, when it becomes art and stuff like that, we don't, like, I'm not even thinking about that. Like we're always about, let's create our own ecosystem. When you become strong enough and powerful enough, we always think about, why am I wearing someone else's thobes? Let me make my own thobes. Why am I wearing someone else's socks? I'm gonna make my own socks. Why? And we always think like that. And that's where the manager, that's where that can compartmentalize all of that and say, we're gonna do this first, we're gonna do this next, we're gonna move on to that. They can actually, you know, categorically see the future and see how you can channel that energy. Because sometimes people are working on a load of content, but they haven't got the team to execute it. Some people, the other way around, they're amazingly talented, but they don't have the team to the creatives to kind of put it like that, so people can see, you know. So it's a huge mess. It's a big mishmash, and everybody's just trying to find it. Before we started this, I did say I hate podcasts. Like, reason being is that people from the other side of the screen are looking at us maybe for advice or something like that. And I'm like, I've got no advice. I'm a free flow. I just followed and I just wanted to please Allah along the way and tried to keep shaitan away from it. I was always mindful of shaitan trying to enter. Being mindful of that makes you a lot more well prepared for life scenarios and all of that. And alhamdulillah, like Allah gave barakah in certain projects and allowed me to do what I do. You know, and I don't know what's going to happen next. And remember, I've been going on since 2012, right? In the nasheed, I was going before mainstream. I was from 2008. Wow. So like, only now, this is really interesting. Only now, people are singing back the songs and the shows and all of that, and they're singing back and they know all the tracks and things are hitting millions of views and all of that. So that's 20 years. SubhanAllah. It's like, you know, so how can you advise young people? How could you advise people to be like, oh, don't worry. Oh, what 20 years you want to hold on for? So that's why I'm saying the next step. Sabr. That is sabr. But it's just try and look at the road that you're navigating, understand the people you're with, be with close brothers, and you can deal with anything. You know, when you've got your boys behind you, whatever problem comes, you can face it, you know. And what happens is you grow. I remember when I was first talking to Awakening Records, the first question they asked me was, are you married? And I was like, why is that the first thing? They're like, you're going to travel a lot, you're going to get a lot of attention. And look, I did get married, and we spoke again and all of that. So alhamdulillah, like it's, there are no answers out there. But, you know, if you look at pleasing Allah and honing in your craft, focusing on that craft, I think that there will be success. There is someone out there.
I think it's very important as well, because, you know, they have this, like, have you ever heard the 10,000 hour rule? Where where you work at something enough for 10,000 hours, you become an expert at it. I do think a lot of people just have not put in their hours. You know, it doesn't have to even get to 10,000 realistically, but like, have you actually put in the time in your craft? You know, like, have you, you've written one song. Okay, you got lucky. MashaAllah, it did one numbers. Have you, where are the 40 before that failed?
Yeah.
You know, that's one question. I'll wrap up with this next question, which I think it's kind of an open question, a bit loaded, but inshallah, it should be okay. There is a distinction between the art that you do as a vocals only artist, and there are still faith-based artists, nasheeds, that do use music, right? There's many artists that are quite successful in that, right? I've had a lot of conversations with people, labels and such, that, you know, will say, well, what you're doing is great, but you need to use instruments. You know, you will not go far with vocals only. They told us to my face, right? That you will not go very far without a whole band behind you.
Yeah.
And it's difficult enough, you know, trying to leave haram music, right? And I don't even think the stuff you were doing before was necessarily that haram, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But then there's this other dynamic, right? Which is like, even within the Muslim space, there's beatboxing, no beatboxing, instruments, no instruments. Have we almost started cannibalizing our own industries to a certain extent? Like, I work with vocals only artists. I am a vocals only artist, but I'm also not super strict on the music artists. Like, I do think there's room to collaborate. I think that, you know, if we can work together on things that make everyone comfortable, right? Then it shouldn't be a problem. Can you talk a little bit about even your decision to be a vocals only artist? Because I know that came later on in your career as well, where at one point you did use instruments, even as a nasheed artist, I'm assuming at one point.
Yeah. For long, I'd perform a guitar.
Exactly. So, can you talk about that journey and transition and how you even came to the conclusion you came to?
Yeah. I never thought I would be a vocal only artist, to be honest. I never connect. For me, it's connecting with the art. I connected heavily to the guitar, the chords. I taught myself how to play the guitar. I watched like sort of YouTube videos, and I put the hours in basically myself. I learned the popular chord progressions, which are the pop chord progressions, and I just wrote songs around it. I learned through that space. It was like free flowing. Like, it was just at the time, it wasn't really. People were fine with people using music. So, like, at the same time, when I'm launching 2012, I did Sounds of Light. We did the Barbican. Maher Zain was with the full band, and I had a band as well. There was a time for it. It was working, and then at the same time, I know that there were the early birds of vocal only, like Omar Issa, Zayn Bika, and these guys.
OG, yeah.
And I felt like there was the industry was kind of split into two. There were people who listen to vocals only, and there's people who listen to music. So there was no real conflict. It was like you're over there and you're over there. No one really kind of focused on that. I think the people that have cannibalized the issue with vocal only music or nasheeds are the people that don't even like nasheeds in the first place. Like, it's not really for them. Like, and you know, we hear sort of like negative. We listen to negative comments more. Like, I know I was speaking to my brothers, the nasheed artists, and we're like, This is amazing. It's amazing. Oh, wow, this is nasheed changing my life. And then someone goes, this is haram. And then for some reason, all I think about is that comment.
It's the only one that sticks out.
It's the only one. It's just like, but you're forgetting all. And then you dig deeper, click onto the thing. He doesn't even like music. He's just.
Or the worst is, he himself listens to real music, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He will listen to real music.
And he has a nerve to cuss you out. Yeah.
So you're just like, you're trying to find like the space in all of that. And again, like, I wouldn't listen to it. I would say, like, listen to your heart and understand, like, your team is vocal only. You're going down that journey. If I put beats or if I put duff in there, it's because I feel the track needs it. I'm telling you, I'm all about the art. Like, you know, I actually barely get any hate, to be honest. And I think it's because people have realised that I'm a grown man. I stand firm behind my decisions. Even when I was doing music, no one was ever saying, what you're doing is haram. No one has the guts to come up to me and say, I don't like that, because I'm confident in what I believe in. I haven't misused my position as a public figure. So you won't see me on socials with my top off. You won't see me even wearing a vest, because I know that people will assume, the next stage is taking your top off, or even though it might be okay, like, you know, for a man to do that, I still won't do that. I still won't allow that to seep into my brand. So people have always been very comfortable with my brand, and I think people just do that out of fear. Like, they're worried that, oh, you're using beats, next is going to be music and all of that. It's like, no, we're okay. Like, you know, I had a conversation with Amin Davis, and he was saying, I want my productions to sound like vocals, And in my head, I was like, okay, cool, that's interesting. Like, you know, and I think he's probably trying to alleviate any issues maybe going forward. I don't know. Like, it might be a creative thing. But with me, it's just like...
Oh, he's hardcore, by the way.
Yeah.
Even me and him clash a lot.
Is it?
He's, mashallah, shadeed. He's...
That's good.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah.
I mean, in the end, that's the ideal situation. The ideal is to try and deliver a song in the most purest form. Like, but the issue is trying to make that interesting and fun. And remember, like, when we're writing these songs, we have to sing these. Like, we have to travel the world and sing it. We've probably sung Holy, like... over 100 times,
probably more than that.
Yeah, more than that.
Yeah, definitely.
And you have to, you know, feel it, and you know. So I've always been like, you know, talking to Zayn Bicker in the past as well. He's like, be careful what you put out there because you might be singing that same song forever. You know, when people keep saying, "Saif, why don't you do nursery rhymes? Why don't you do like that?" And like, one of them nursery rhymes pop. You're going to ask me to sing that on the stage. I know you're going to ask me. And Dawood Warnsby has the same issue.
Yeah.
He's like got new content, and then people say, "I'll play this song," or Yusuf Islam, A is for Allah. I never want to be
like, come on, man. He's a real artist, dude.
Like, so if there's one takeaway from this is you're always true to Allah, but respect your art as well. Like, be you. Don't change because that one person's going to change into something else. It's just it's too difficult to run your career path as what is going to please, and that's in every industry. Someone who wants to be a teacher, they're like, you know, but you can't. We're going to have segregated seating, like men on that. Just don't listen to it. It's a genre. And it's an art form that is so new. And I think the people who comment are just so scared. And even the shayukh are scared to kind of put their view on it. I was really grateful for Mufti to kind of stand behind it. And he told me, he's like, look, this is really important for the kids. It's a stepping stone for...
You know what's the craziest thing? Wallahi, I'm telling you this. I want people to listen. In my career, I've never had issues with shayukh. My hate has never come from people of knowledge. They've always been on my side. Like, and Mufti has been very supportive. He's always told me, brother, keep going. I love your work. And I'm thinking, it's so ironic. Why are the people of knowledge in our corner backing us? And then these knuckleheads on the comment section are, oh, the sheikh said this. I said, I'm with the sheikh, bro. He's encouraging us. He's pushing us forward.
It's true.
Isn't it so ironic that the people of knowledge, they see the bigger picture and they see the role that you play in the larger da'wah conversation, as opposed to some, sorry, this is a bit of a rant, but as opposed to some random person, you know, in a Muslim country who perhaps just doesn't understand the context of what we're doing, right? And to them, it's like music in and of itself is bad, but they don't need it because they live in a place where the adhan is being played here, and they have their culture, and they're not fighting the temptations. They're not fighting the Western culture the way we are.
But I'm forgiving because it's a mishmash of knowledge. There's some people that just come to Islam, and they're like, music is haram, and it helped them. And there's some people that are like very kind of scared of music because where it has taken them. But in the end, like, we're putting content out there that is for the masses. You know, when you look at my nasheeds, it's not for it's not really, it's more commercial pop, fun, and you know, that's my space. And you have people like Isam, you have people like Mike Rook as well, that kind of cater for a different kind of audience. And I think that there's going to be like haters in all of them spaces, but unless you develop a good relationship with me in terms of, like, I'll listen. If you said, bro, this is wrong, I think this is wrong, I would listen to you because we know each other. But if it's a complete stranger online,
some auntie in Sri Lanka, like, come on, cut me some slack,
and they're going to change the trajectory of your your career. Like, you know, they're not going to help you when you need to pay for you know, for things and stuff like that. So as long as you're, you know, sincere, close to Allah, and the community can see it, like, they believe it. Don't do this fake, like, nasheed kind of, I'm always praying, I'm always like that. People can see it the same way you can see people in the rap world who are faking it, talking about guns, talking about that life, and you can look at them in their face and you'll be like, I know you're not about that. And it's the same in the faith space with speakers. It's the same with nasheed artists. Really kind of get that circle, have that, make it like natural for you to be around, you know, like going to Umrah, go as many times as you can, and things like that with your brothers, and I think that when you create that circle of brotherhood, And you can do that with your wife as well, to be honest. Like there's some people that power couples, man, that are like they're
Mashallah.
using the energy of their
Or
wife.
wives.
Yeah, that's a different podcast.
That's a different podcast altogether.
But whatever works,
Yeah.
works. But I have to get this across is don't sound like me, don't sound like Ilyas, don't sound like Saeed, don't sound like just don't, because that's not what the industry needs. The industry needs you, whatever you are. You could come in and you could be young, you could be cute, you could have wild, wacky, big afro hair, you could have any. We need more people. We need so many different. You can have a really long beard, and we just need so many different kinds. You don't need to look at us and when I was wearing phobes, there were artists that were coming up, not the ones that are surfaced yet, but they're just like showing me, oh yeah, I'm wearing phobes and I'm singing. I'm just like, oh, you don't get it. You don't get it.
About the phobes, bro.
It's not about the phobes. Yeah, it's just about that connect. I just feel when I wear it, I feel connected. I love wearing it. It's loose. It's nice to tour with. Nice colors, and you just be natural. Just be what you want to be. And when that translates with your brand, and when people understand what kind of Muslim you are, then they can start connecting with you. Like I know when I have my beard thick and long and all that, it sends like a proud moment for other brothers that are growing their beards. Like, he's in that space and he's singing and he's being respectful as well. And there's all these other like hyper mixes of different Muslims, hybrids of them. And you all represent a demographic, and then if you fail to represent your own people, which happens, it does happen, at least you've got the whole Muslim like ummah to fall on as well, and just make sure that your content is good, professional and strong. Reference like good content, reference the level of output, but you don't need to reference the actual songs and what they're filming. Well, let's watch movies. When we watch movies, have Islamic movies, you don't need to do movies about haram or anything like that, but just at least reference that, because that's there in terms of like the output and productivity.
Well, I love how you frame that. And I think, there are going to be different forms of Islamic art. And I think we should encourage that. If they're worried about you, I can't wait till they hear the Stereo Child. That Stereo Child, when he comes out, oh my gosh, it is going to... Because, bro, we need that kind of stuff.
We do.
We need different, even genres of Islamic art. That's why I think even for a lot of people, the term nasheed is a bit triggering, because it's like, okay, well, what is nasheed?
Yeah.
Is it just, I got to be like a boy band? That like traditional Arabic groups where it's like a group of guys and they're just singing. Is that nasheed?
That's why I said it's like, when people's relationship with money and people's relationship with work and all of that, they all have a different introduction to what it was. And sometimes when you say the word nasheed, it does trigger people. Yeah. And then we're constantly trying to reimagine what that is about and like reinvent what nasheed is and stuff. Maybe we should lose that term nasheed. I don't know, but I do. What I do know is that it's songs about Allah and songs about faith. But I'll be honest with you, like it's just something that I'm passionate about, and I just write songs about it.
I like that, like faith-based music. I think if we had like a Muslim gospel, I've used that term before. People don't like it, but it's like, I don't know how else to refer to it, because I do think nasheed is a bit played out. I think the term also means something it means something else to different people.
Yeah.
But I do like the idea of just faith-based music. Yeah. We're calling to Allah, we're calling to what's good, we're calling to just be good people, right? And I think sometimes even nasheed is very preachy, very on the nose. Yeah. Doesn't even have to be that way either. There's room for just good, wholesome, wholehearted content that inshallah can guide people to the straight path.
But what's funny though? Sorry, I've introduced. No. So let's look at my daughter. So she's 8, and she thinks nasheed is what we're doing.
We've already ruined the definition for her.
So like, her connection with nasheed isn't about the old school Zayn Bickers and all of
fair
that.
Enough.
So that's what I'm saying. There's going to be a whole truckload of new people that listen. A whole truckload, and when you're going on for 20 years, you're gonna reach those. Some of my fans are now, their kids are listening. Wow. But they don't know any of the older tracks. They just know these newer tracks. And so we're all hitting different times. And artists, I'm just speaking to you guys directly. When you create that content of work, release. Because right now, if you're feeling it and you're really genuine and authentic, is because it's what's current at the time. What we do as artists, we delay that release, and then it becomes outdated, and that conversation becomes outdated in what you were singing about. So try and get that kind of production line sorted with the track, which is current at the time, release and out. And I think Holy, the reason why the success of Holy took place was because it was time for a new style of vocal only nasheeds to come in, and Allahumma and Rabbana. These are like proud nasheeds. If you listen to, you come to the shows, it's literally Rabbana ya Rab, louder. Rabbana ya, like that's my vibe. Like and that's where I want to be. You know, so
I love your stuff. Very anthemy. It's very big. I remember even at GPU, like I was jamming along. Like I was in the crowd, like, oh, this is sick. Like, you know, and I think the work that you've done, mashallah, you know the results. I mean, you've seen the impact, but I just want to let you know that there are so many people that have benefited, so many people that have been inspired by you, so many people that also you don't even know sometimes the seed that you've planted, even just to encourage a brother or a sister to say, hey, look, you can drop that stuff and do something which is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, sometimes that message in and of itself is bigger than the art. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to bless you. May Allah azza wa jalla continue to protect you, protect you from all evil, protect you from fitna. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and your children. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make you a beacon of light and khair that the ummah can benefit from for generations to come, inshallah. And we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to allow us to be used for His sake. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you in all your efforts. Jazakumullah khairan for joining us, brother. Really appreciate your time. And Jazakumullah khairan for all those who've watched till the end. Make sure you stay tuned for other great content here on our channel. Follow the Muslimi Experience for more. And inshallah, we'll see you on the next one. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.